Hello, everyone, and thank you for turning into Crash While Loading. Before we begin, I, Ashton Phoenix, feel I must come clean about aspects of my past that some of you might find distasteful. I have said and taken advantage of the nature of women my entire life. It has come to light recently from the ages of 0 to 1. I would demand breast milk at any time of the day or night, and in my ignorance, I did not think to ask for consent. My inability to understand any form of language or communication skill is of no excuse, and for this, I apologize. Then it continued for the next 19 years. I took advantage of my mother, living off of her hard-earned money and under her house, expecting her to purchase things for me like food and clothing, shelter, clean water, even so far as to do school supplies. Yes, my father was there, but that doesn't matter because he was as guilty as I was of the same atrocities in his own past. I've also been fond of the opposite sex, enjoying the sight of things like boobies and curves. I realize now that it's not just a natural biological response to the opposite sex, but a social construct that has nothing to do with perpetuating the species, going so far as to even marry one of them, chaining them to my male-dominated views of marriage, even though she did consent and say, I do. I apologize. Also, in my youth, I forged a signature to get out of a bad report card, stole cans of Pringles from the pantry, asked Grandma for quarters at the arcade, was generally shit to my sister, and, probably badmouthed people all the time. And if you haven't ever actually done something wrong, or if you ever have done something wrong like this, for the love of all that is holy and just, never apologize to small-minded people with too much time on their hands and too many clicks on the fingers of the keyboard. Because if there's one thing a bully dies before, it's someone that stands up for themselves. And for that, I'm sorry.
This is Crashed While Loading, the fusion of entertainment and information.
Hello there.
Weekly updates and opinions on video games,
You were almost a Jill sandwich.
You're right.
movies,
I'm about to do to you what Limp Bizkit did to music in the late 90s.
TV shows,
This is the way.
This is the way.
and so much more.
Gee, Jane, what do you want to do tonight?
Off. We need to go on a quick adventure. Hello, people of the internet. I hope you are found hale and hearty. As somebody that probably does a fantasy podcast would probably introduce themselves every time. I don't know if you guys have ever listened to other podcasts. I'm sure you have. I'm not the only one. But some of them are just really cringy and awful. I just want to... And I know they're doing their best, but I've listened to some that are fantasy-based, and they're like, Hi, take a seat before the campfire. Pull up a mug of beer as we tell you a story of, and then they're checking their notes, and it's like, it just goes downhill from there. I get it, everyone has their thing. I mean, I say hello, people of the internet. At least I know that the internet runs on a series of tubes. I learned that from a politician. So, I apologize if I'm going to be coughing a lot. So, the good news is, I didn't get COVID. The bad news is the hospital is full of shit, and they charged me $155 for it because I don't think they ran it through my insurance. But hey, I spent $155 to find out I don't have COVID. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to pay that. That's ridiculous. They're going to run it through insurance, and then they're going to kiss my ass. The good news is that I didn't have that. The bad news is apparently, and our grandson has had this, RSV, the respiratory something virus. It's usually something found in kids. They get it real bad. They get it real bad. They get it easily, and it's, they get coffee, fever, blah, blah, blah. Our grandson's had it. He had to have tubes in his ear. It's been a shit week, trust me. But for the last 2 weeks, Sib and I have been feeling really bad. Bad enough that we thought, like, hey, COVID, this is probably COVID, right? COVID? Yeah, it turns out not COVID. No, according to the doctor I had, after I found out I didn't have COVID, I had a consultation because I still felt like ass. They're looking into connections with COVID and this RSV coming up in adults. Like it's supposed to be something that happens in the winter, and it's like going through adults and children alike during the summer right now. And they're starting to think there's a link between it and COVID somehow. I don't know, maybe because we don't know what the hell COVID does. Also, probably rebreathing. I don't know. Okay, so here's my thing with the masks. If you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. If you're going to do that, also, probably don't wear the same mask 50 days in a row without ever washing it, or one of those disposable ones just over and over and over. That's not really what they're designed for, and you're probably doing yourself a lot more harm than good by breathing in 50 days worth of exhalations and stuff. We're watching a thing called Bar Rescue. It's an old show. It's got John Taffer. He goes in, rescues bars and stuff like that. It's on Paramount Plus. It's a fun show. I was going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about it now. And the stuff that they find, like when beer sits and it stews and it gets globs and there's like bacterial clusters. You're doing that with something you're breathing in all the time. Don't. Yes. Renfell washes theirs every 2 or 3 days if they have the cloth ones. And that's great. And if you set it out in the sun, it's even better. That's perfectly fine. But I know, because I see it in teenage cars hanging from the rearview mirror, and that thing's probably been there since March of 2020. Yeah. Ashton had to pull open the books and made a call to Bar Rescue. Ericus knows. It's a great show, isn't it? It's still good. We watched it back years ago, but they only had like the first 2 seasons, and then this Paramount Plus, apparently season 3, 4, and 5 are like 40 and 50 episodes long. So oddly enough, we actually watch that while we're eating, which is sometimes not the best idea given some of the state of these bars and the kitchens that are in them. And it's like, nah, I'm still going to eat. My stomach's not that weak. But yeah, okay. So anyway, I'm not going to get to Bar Rescue. But anyway, so this, they think we had SVR, which affected us both differently. I had a bunch of gunk in my chest, as you can tell. I still don't think I sound like I'm all the way, and I get shortness of breath fairly easily. I'm sleeping a lot still, but I do feel a lot better. Good enough I'm going to do the show, obviously. So that was what we had, and then, of course, our grandson getting tubes in his ears, which we couldn't because we were sick and we didn't know if we had COVID. We were there in the parking lot, was moral support, but when he came out, we couldn't comfort him or anything, and it was frankly awful. It was just the worst feeling. Because he's reaching for us, because we're grandma and grandpa. That's what they do. So anyway, I'm back. If you're listening live, like Renfell and Ericus are, and one other person, I don't know who they are. It just says 3 viewers. That's all I got. Appreciate it. You do that over twitch.tv/crashedwhileloading. Follow, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. Click on the About section. You can join the Discord, and that's when I always tell you when I'm actually going to do the stupid show, because I never know. Because I get things like not COVID, and then the week before I forget why I couldn't do it, and Sib is eyeballing me with the stink eye. Not just one stink eye.
Because I listen to you live too.
You don't get a shout out because you don't listen to me live. You just come in and out while you're doing.
I can hear you throughout the house.
Yeah, that's because I'm amazing. She can hear me throughout the house because my voice carries. and she's glad to hear me. Uh-huh. Yeah, you're always welcome on the show. Ericus misses you. He just said that. Ericus, just type it in after the fact. She won't know that you didn't type it in first. Ericus said he really misses you. Yeah. So anyway, let's get on with the stupid show. So I watched Pig, which is that Nicolas Cage movie, and I'm not going to spoil it. I will say it was not what I... the trailer kind of made it seem like it was going to be like a John Wick instead of a dog. It was going to be a pig, and he was going to go blasting through everything. It was not like that. It wasn't really a violent movie, but it was really. I liked it. Sib a little, she was a little meh on it, and that's understandable because it's I could see it being one of those movies you either really dig or you just don't. But he was fantastic in it. I got to give props to Nicolas Cage. He's had he's had some pretty bad movies. Con Air, for example, while a fun movie, terrible Alabama accent. I'm from Alabama, duh, duh, duh. I'm a prisoner on the Alabama Con Air Expressway. Do, 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 do. No, it's just not, it's not good. It's just, also the mullet is terrible. Although he does rock the mullet, I will give him that. But no, he was really good. Like, this is, I would say this is like award level performance from him. Yeah, it was well shot. The pig was adorable. And the people, the actors throughout, it was just really good. It was surprising, for something that had, really didn't have action. It starts out from the very beginning. He's living in the Oregon woods. He's got a truffle pig and somebody steals the pig. And then he goes they're near Portland, goes to Portland and, find out stuff about him being an old chef and things like that. And, it just goes from there. It's just kind of like it's an adventure of finding this pig and getting it back and why someone would even take a truffle pig, which if you've ever looked up the price of truffles, you know why someone would actually steal a truffle pig. These things are like, go on Amazon and look up truffle. I think for like an ounce of it, it's $299. And that's not even like the fresh stuff. I mean, there's a reason. You want to have a fancy restaurant, you could just do like a Spam burger and then throw truffles on it and charge people $99 for it. That's literally what truffles do to everything. I guess they just enhance the flavor and whatnot, and they're extremely difficult. I actually had to look up. They're extremely difficult to find, so you have to know how to find them. You have to have a truffle pig, and for some reason they're hard to cultivate. Like to make like shiitake mushroom farms are super easy. Or the white mushrooms or stuff like that. You can grow them easily, apparently. But for some reason, these truffles are really difficult. They actually have a very short shelf life. They don't last long. So it's basically from forest floor to shelf or table, and it goes really well. But anyway, it was really good. I enjoyed it. It's $6.99 or $5.99 on Amazon. So if you like Nicolas Cage, then by all means go for it. If you hate Nicolas Cage, probably not the movie for you. But, if you like truffle pigs and the search for them, I'm not going to compare it to the truffle version of Lord of the Rings, but it's totally the truffle version of Lord of the Rings. It's just that epic, only it's in Portland. And thank God there's no halflings, which makes it, already better than Lord of the Rings. Claim. Moving on, something I kind of started just on a whim. Doom Patrol, also that's on HBO Max, which is a DC thing. It's good, actually. It's got Brandon Fraser in it, which I didn't realize he was the giant robot, the stupid looking robot thing, and Cyborg, which to be fair, I don't care who's playing Cyborg. He is probably one of my least favorite characters in the DC universe, and I don't know why. He's just annoying. I think it's his backstory or something like that. I don't care about him too much in this. And he's fine. There's nothing wrong. The actor does great. It's just the character itself. I don't really care for him in the Justice League stuff or anything like that. I don't even like him in the Teen Titans cartoon. He was like the least interesting character to me. I don't know. Scribble says, who hates Nick Cage? I'll fight him. Very good. I'll meet you at the flagpoles after school by the bike racks behind the gym. Be there, be square. But anyway, so yeah, Doom Patrol, I'm only a couple episodes into it. I know it's got a couple seasons now, I think. And I like it. I'll probably finish it out. Then there was Bar Rescue, which I already talked about. I don't know why we're watching it. We don't know. It's something we can throw on. You don't really have to pay a ton of attention to it, but it's something good. We enjoy it when we do watch it flat out. And also on Paramount Plus, I finished Star Trek Discovery's last season, and I don't know, man. I like the show, and then there's parts of it that are just not Star Trek. Like it's, they kind of did that. I'm watching Picard with Sib as well. We're not through that one, but the direction they've taken Star Trek seems to be based really big off of the J.J. Abrams, movies, like the fast kinetic action and the plot just bam, 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 bam. It's just in constant motion. So I don't know. I mean, I like that it's more modern, future modern, and that's all well and good. But at the same time, it feels like it's lost something that it needs. Especially less so with Picard, because I mean, well, it's got fucking Patrick Stewart in it. How could it not? I like it, and it's got a lot of great. It's got a lot of great moments. I mean, they spoil a lot of that stuff. I think we're on like the 5th episode, and they spoil the fact that Riker's in it in the previews, on the commercial promos like years ago. So in 7 of 9, but I like that, it still feels, it's like a throwaway to nostalgia when they do that, but at the same time, it matters, like that's just quintessential Star Trek. And funny enough, when those characters are around, a little less with 7 of 9, she's kind of just a badass, but that's when it slows down and feels more Star Trek than pretty much anything in like Discovery. It's just one thing after another, after another, after another. It's like, it's just so kinetic, as I guess the word I'd use. And while I like what they do, certain things like the weird spore drive it's really far out there, man. I mean, that's season 1 stuff. If I'm spoiling it for you, I'm sorry. But they've got the whole thing with Discovery is that it has a spore drive because there's a microcelial network through another plane of existence, basically, that mirrors our own. And they can use this drive to basically go instantaneously from one spot to another, using the spore drive is what they call it. I mean, it sounds ridiculous just saying it out loud. It works in the show just because it constantly moves and moves and moves and doesn't give you time to think about it. But when you stop and think about it, it's like, so it's mushrooms in space is what you're traveling through. It's just kind of weird. I don't know. But I don't know that there's going to be a season 5. They've not announced one yet. Honestly, I think if Discovery stopped at season 4, it was a pretty good stopping point. There was a few unanswered questions, and there were some things that were just annoying for me. It was the wokeisms. Like, there was one character that was introduced, and the actress is a woman, and through the whole time that you see her, she's, they refer to her as she, and out of nowhere, left field, the guy that she's connected with, like in a father figure way, says that she can rewrite a program and something, and then like everyone fucks off, and it's just the two of them in engineering, and she's like, they, huh? I've never felt like a she, more like a they, them, and then like for the rest of that episode, they refer to her as they, and then never comes up again. It was just, I don't know. Like I said, I don't mind when stuff like that happens in a show, but it needs to not feel like it wasn't even shoehorned in there. A shoehorn implies that the foot fits in the shoe. This was like a size 10 trying to put on a kid's shoe. It just totally did not fit. It was just out of the blue, and it had no bearing on, I mean, they're in the fight for their life, and yet for some reason they have a chance to talk about her pronoun usage and wishes, and then never bring it up again. Like, I don't think they even refer to her in the next episodes when she's in there as a they or a them. They just call her by name. So it's like, what was the point? It's little wokeism things like that are more annoying with Discovery than anything else. It's just, it feels shoehorned in. It's not. And it doesn't make sense for Star Trek? Absolutely. I mean, it's the future. It's especially, when you really get into it, they go way in the future. And so stuff like that makes sense, but at the same time, it has the modern context of, like, well, if this has been around in the future for hundreds of years based off of what we have today, it wouldn't really be a conversation. It probably would have been in her personnel file, and one of the first things she made sure she let people know and not go 3 episodes in before she mentioned it. So, I don't know. That's just me. Discovery's fine. I mean, I'd still watch it. I do enjoy it, but there's just certain things that are like, this could be better if you guys slowed it down and stopped trying to recreate something it shouldn't be. And also, I've been playing a lot of Call of Duty. Why? Because I hate myself. That's why. And I'm actually, surprisingly, I'm really good at Call of Duty for the most part. I have my bad games, but I have a lot more good games. I've come in first in a lot of them. Top 3 as well. So, that's always good. I also get called I forgot how much when you play Call of Duty and when you do good, how much you get called the N-word and bitch and pussy and spawn camper, even though I'm moving around the map all the time. I like to play on hardcore mode, which is basically if you shoot them first, you kill them. I like that one because I'm pretty quick at that, actually, and I do really well. I do less so with the core, which is the bullet sponge thing. I can do fine, but I prefer hardcore. Because I'm hardcore, man. Totally hardcore. Core to the hardest. My hardcore is so hard, you could bounce quarters off my core. And the cording. And
inconceivable!
Anyway. So, yeah, I've enjoyed it. I actually probably might start streaming that just to prove Ericus that I actually am decent at it. Of course, the second I stream, that will be when I have a game where I'm like 50-2. I have like a negative kill death ratio. That's how that's going to happen. But yes, and I do get called a cheater a lot. How'd you know I was coming? Well, because I muted all the dumb fucks on my team that have their crappy rap or their background mom yelling at them or just the in-house stuff constantly pumping through it. And I listen for these things called footsteps that you're clomping through, like on the other side of the wall. I can hear you. So yeah, I'm like, just point the gun that direction and wait for you to appear, and you're dead. It's not difficult. And I do that. I don't know how people play on teams where, like, they've got all that background garbage going on. It is not fun. I have to mute those people because I use my ears as much as I use my eyes in Call of Duty. Yeah, makes a big difference. So, before we get into the rest of the news, there is a trailer I watched for something called Night of the Animated Dead, which is basically just the Night of the Living Dead redone in animation. And when I say animation, I mean like Flash animation I don't mean like modern Flash before it went away. I mean like 1999 Flash animation. It's terrible looking. I don't know who approved this or why. It's not going to be scary in any way, shape, or form. The original Night of the Living Dead was going to be scarier than this. It looks horrible. And I don't know. I mean, given the animation, they probably spent about $7 and hired a team of 15-year-olds to do this. But at the same time, why was this even done?
Why?
Right.
Why?
I don't know.
Why?
I have absolutely no clue why someone would want to watch this, let alone why a studio would even make it. It's just awful. If you haven't looked up Night of the Animated Dead, go ahead and look at it. Judge for yourself. Tell me I'm wrong. I'd be happy to see who looks at that 6 frames of He-Man like. And I don't mean the new He-Man. I mean like the classic 80s He-Man. I don't have a link. You'll have to go to YouTube and just look up. It's literally called Night of the Animated Dead. That's Scribbles. That's the name of the show. Or the movie that they're doing. It's just Night of the Animated Dead. Yeah, and I did too. I love the original Night of the Living Dead. I liked the sequels, even the crappy ones where they went, like the one where the girl was part zombie and she was putting screws in her face and her head. I watched that on like USA Up All Night when I was a kid, and I loved it. It was so stupid. It's so bad. And I love those, old Romero movies and things like that. But this is bad. It's just not good. So I'm not going to dwell on it too, but yeah, if you want to, go to YouTube, look up Night of the Animated Dead, and feel free to tell me I'm wrong. I mean, they even have some of the classic, like, they're coming for you, Barbara. They're coming for you. Kind of, that stuff. But the animation is, like, I don't know who you remember, like Strong Bad and things like that. It's like that level of animation, which for Strong Bad is great. That's exactly what I've seen like some of the kitschy TV movies, the animated shows on like Adult Swim, the ones that were animated badly on purpose, like TV home movies, or I think it was called, or TV movies, or like Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Like, it's below their quality. Yes, we're on to USA up all night. I remember that. Yeah. Sorry, I gotta... I actually have cinnamon whiskey here because it helps with my throat. I figure it might help me get through the show. It's much better. It soothes and mentholates. So anyway, moving on from that to something everybody is probably looking forward to, and if they're not, I don't know, they probably don't have a pulse. Amazon Studios' ambitious Lord of the Rings original series is going to come out September 2nd, 2022, so only a full year away. And that, of course, is that it doesn't get pushed back. Because if there's one thing we've learned here is that nothing ever gets pushed back. Ever. They actually released one screenshot, too, and it does look, I mean, it's exactly what, they're basing it off the, I just forgot his dumpy ass's name. They did, you know who I mean. The guy that did the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Anyway. Wow, that's going to drive me crazy. I'm going to call him Jake Gyllenhaal. So Jake Gyllenhaal's, no, that's not right, but I can't think of his name for the life of me right now. But they're basing it off of the movie's look and stuff like that, which is fantastic because it was a good look. Yeah, because making a series is much easier than making an MMO. And given that they've canceled the MMO, that is accurate. That is probably very accurate. And Scribbles would actually, he agrees, it is, because he would know he's making an MMO. And contrary to his name, it's not called Scribble MMO. It's called Defend the Night, which is done by Scribble MMO and other guys and gals. He's not the only one. I wonder if there's got to be somebody that was crazy enough to try to do like a one-man MMO. And that person right now is happily eating his ice cream in his padded cell because that's exactly what would happen to somebody that tried to do that. I can't even imagine. Moving on to other news of things that we now know is going to come out. Cobra Kai Season 4 is going to be in December. We don't know exactly when in December, but December. So by the end of the year, which is great. Cobra Kai is one of those things that should not exist. And if it did exist, it should have only have existed for one season and been terrible and laughed completely out of the sphere of anybody's influence. Reign of Darkness is one. Oh, good God, that poor bastard. I don't even know if it's good or bad, but kudos to them for making an MMO by themselves. I assume that's what he's talking about. But yeah, so season 4, we've enjoyed it. The first season was probably the strongest, and I like the little extras and stuff like that they've put into it. This one here is they're finally bringing the All Valley Karate Tournament into it and stuff like that. I'm gonna predict that I'm fairly certain that the ponytail guy from the third movie that was a real, like if you want the douchebag in a movie, he was the guy, and then this one they made him extra douchey because they gave him a ponytail. And then in the 80s and 90s, that's what you did when you wanted to make somebody a douchebag. Unless, of course, you were not Jean-Claude Van Damme. Who's the other guy that was in the same... Oh, man, I'm not doing good tonight on names, am I? Jean-Claude Van Damme. And who is the other martial arts guy? He's real fat now. And I could say that as a fat guy in training. I can call other fat guys fat. He was in, like, The Siege, and he's in everything. He made a bunch of crap movies. Steven Seagal. That's it. Ericus, you got it. Yeah, so Steven Seagal, he was like that kind of guy. But, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. December, can't get here for quick enough. One thing I haven't gotten a chance to watch yet is the new What If series from Marvel, which I know the first one is what if Peggy Carter took the super soldier serum instead of Cap. So I guess she'd be Captain Britain, which is weird because there actually is a Captain Britain, and he's in Excalibur, which is one of the shoot-off X-Men comics. Although I don't think he's a mutant, from what I understand. I don't know much about Captain Britain, actually. But what was funny was there's the gal that came up with this, the creator AC Bradley and director Brian Andrews, they picked their brains on the show, but apparently they came up with something that was a little too close to something, and they were told, yeah, you can't do that. So Bradley said, I'm going to stay away from that. They asked her specifically, of course, they can't answer like what exactly it was, but they said, I'm going to stay away from that question. The reason was because Bradley says that they spent 3 days on a storyline tackling the character, then walked executive producer Brad Winderbaum through all my hard work, only to find out I accidentally pitched the back half of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So they were trying to pitch these crazy what ifs, and What If is a comic from ages ago. It's been ongoing. There's lots of stuff to pull from, but they're coming up with their own thing. And so, completely unrelated to James Gunn doing Guardians of the Galaxy 3, they came up with the last half of Guardians of the Galaxy 3 as a what if, which tells you that Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is going to be pretty crazy, because these guys came up with it as this is no way it could happen, and it's happening. So there's that. She continued to go on to say, so I stay away from Mr. James Gunn and his brilliance and his work, and I did go home after that day and cracked open a beer and be like, well, that's going to be an amazing movie, but I got to go back to the drawing board. Yeah. There was also another one where they pitched a thing for Spider-Man, a what if for Spider-Man, and it was too dark. Disney and Marvel were like, yeah, no, we can't do that. They didn't say exactly what, but they were, can't do that. And it's funny because with this lady Bradley, she's apparently it's not the first time that she's come up with stuff like this. Like before Avengers Endgame and Love and Thunder, she said, my first week I wanted to do Jane Foster Thor, and I was told no. And I went into this whole feminist rant of why characters are important and why they're necessary and why a woman needs to be the wielder of the hammer. And they were like, yeah, we're going to do that live action. So they were like, we agree with you. You need to stop talking. And we're literally doing that already. And then she also pitched storylines that used Old Man Steve and Professor Hulk, which were both rejected because Old Man Steve and Professor Hulk were in Avengers Endgame. So she's got a history of predicting what the rest of Marvel Studios is apparently up to and not realizing how on the mark she is, which I don't know. I think that's kind of cool. And let's see. So moving on. This one's stupid, but I like Legos, and I like Halloween, and I like Star Wars. And this has all three. So this October 1st, Lego Star Wars Terrifying Tales will premiere on Disney+. It just says rest in pieces with the Imperial Tombstone, and I don't know if that's Kylo. It can't be Kylo Ren because it's not the right saber, but I assume it's Darth Vader coming back from the grave. The Lego Halloween special was a lot of fun. It's super stupid, but if you've ever played any of the Lego games, I mean, that's the whole point. They just retell the story in a child-friendly, dumb, fun way with a lot of, humor and falling apart and things like that. It's just fun. So this one's gonna go with, that's the prequel people, but still, I like them in Lego form more than I actually like them in the movies. So it's got Poe, and his trusty sidekick will venture deep into the mysterious castle while his X-Wing is repaired. And the castle is Darth Vader's castle, as seen in on Mustafar. So yeah, and we get to see more of Darth Vader's castle. Is it canon? No, but it'll still be cool to see even in Lego form. The Lego movies actually do pretty good. It's got Graballa the Hutt, and she grabs all of the butts. I get it. It's got Poe and Dan. I mean, it doesn't the plot really matter? No, it does not matter at all. It's just going to be fun to do. And I'm good with that. In other news, moving on, with less than a month before launch, New World is delayed again. And I put this strictly on Jazz's shoulders for having pre-ordered it last summer, a month before it was supposed to come out. And I did say that last summer is when she pre-ordered, when I still had other people on the show, and I wasn't just doing it all by myself. Because, I'm a egomaniac and just have to be all about me, not because it's really, really hard to get everybody together at the same time every week and gets in the way of life and things like that. Nope, ego is the total reason. So they said here, we want New World's launch to be a smooth, fun experience for all players. Spoiler alert, probably not going to happen. Just not on bashing on them. It's just an MMO. That's just the way it goes. It's just probably not going to happen. And that means making some improvement based on what you encountered during closed beta. So we're going to take a few extra weeks to smash bugs, improve stability, and polish the game. That's the spit polish the game. Which is really not a good idea since most of the game is held on circuit boards and things like that. Probably not a good idea to spit on them. So the new global launch will be September 28th, 2021. Wow, and they're doing a global launch. There'll be nothing wrong with that. It'll go completely without a hitch. And my coaster's stuck to the bottom of my cup. There we go. Everything will be fine. Nothing will be bad. Everyone will be playing their characters for the entire time. I like that they still blame COVID-19 pandemic that took a toll. Yes, did the COVID-19 pandemic take a toll on this production? Yes. Yes, it did. It took a toll on everything. Is that really the reason? No, it's because your game was straight up shit, especially during the first beta, and you've had to rework it constantly. And it does seem to be getting better now. I didn't play the last beta, but I heard good things from those that did, as long as you didn't own a 3090 that bricked. But everybody else had a really good experience with it, and they seem to have added a lot of quests and things like that. So, it's got promise. Excuse me. But at the same time, Amazon still has a terrible record of their gaming stuff, so we'll see. And other news, Funimation now owns Crunchyroll, and a $1.2 billion purchase. It kind of makes sense that they would, one would buy out the other, and it makes sense that Funimation would buy out that. It's so funny to think of Funimation as having that kind of cash on hand, because they used to struggle with just, if you've seen the original dubs of Dragon Ball Z, they're not great, but they do much better now, and they've finally gone back and redubbed over the original dubbers. But another thing that kind of is important to this is what the person that owns Funimation and now Crunchyroll is Sony Pictures Entertainment. The people that own the PlayStation. So there's speculation. It says, according to Eurogamer, there's potentially a chance that Crunchyroll will be included as part of a more expensive premium PlayStation Plus offering, especially since Sony's press release mentioned the goal of providing a unified subscription experience. At that time, Sony hasn't done out, but Sony is looking for their PlayStation to, combat against the stuff that Xbox is doing, because that's competition breeds excellence, frankly, and it's going to make them each have to up the ante. So them doing this and, making the PlayStation like the spot to be for Funimation and other, and the Crunchyroll animations and things like that live stream, because Funimation's live stream service for their anime is just garbage. It's better these days, but it is not it's a bad platform. It's a bad streaming service. It's very hit and miss. The quality goes up and down. It's not great. So Crunchyroll's, however, was very much better, and so them being able to use the Crunchyroll stuff instead of Funimation's garbage algorithms and all that programming crap that I don't understand behind the scenes, probably for the better. So if you're not into anime, this doesn't mean much to you. But if you are, like I am, although I don't watch near as much as I used to, I kind of just watch when the big ones come out. That's good news. It's also a lot of money, $1.2 billion to buy it out. Good on them. And let's see here. Before we get into the Blizzard stuff. So there's a thing I saw over at Massively Overpowered, and this is for you MMO players out there. There was it says, for science, men roll more female characters than women roll male tunes. New survey shows. So it was a survey done of nearly 3,000 people. It's 69% male, 27% female, and 4 non-binary. Okay. And it turns out that while roughly 1 in 3 men prefer playing female tunes, so about 33%, skewing more towards older men than younger, intriguingly, less than 10% of women choose male tunes. So, and it's not a great sample of, a better thing would be, 50% male, 50% female, and, or closer to that to really get that. But they get who they have who is responding. So, yeah, so apparently 1 in 3 dudes, and I've one of them, I've played female tunes before, are more likely to play a female character, and only 1 in 10 women will play a male tune. Now, if I remember correctly, I seem to recall that male gamers hate women and don't like to see women in gaming. That's the thing that the news articles are always pushing. Yet, according to these statistics, it seems like men are more likely to not hate the other gender than women are. So weird. Yeah, that's one thing you can extrapolate from this. If you were, just looking for stuff to, like, throw at dumb people. But here's the deal. A lot of the people that say, like, oh, toxic men and gaming and blah, 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 are there? Yes. They're a very vocal minority. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know any of my friends that are like, man, I hate that woman just because she's got boobs. I don't know people like that. I've never really met people like that. I can't honestly say that there's that many of them. A lot of time, like, my problems with a female character is the same one I'm going to have with a male character. It's like Captain Marvel. I just don't care for Brie Larson as an actress when portraying her. And she's good in other stuff. I have no problem with Brie Larson as it were for her acting abilities. I just think she's a shit Captain Marvel. She's just not that good. Just like, let's see, who's another one? Well, I can't think of someone else off the top of my head, but there's plenty of them. I just can't think of it off. I'm still worn out. I have an hour and a half nap, and still woke up at 9 o'clock this morning. Idris Elba. He wasn't a great Roland Deschain. He was fine. The script was worse. And also, who was he? It's in the same Dark Tower movie that played not Randall Flagg, but the Man in Black. All right. That guy. He wasn't great as that character either. I mean, given the whole movie was shit, so it's not too surprising. But like those, I have nothing against those actors. They were just not good for that part. It happens. And, it's not much you can do about it, but that doesn't mean that, just because I hate all men or I hate all women. It's not that way. So I like to hear what it says here is overall players are most likely to prefer playable characters of the same gender. This is true for players who identify as male, female, and non-binary. Notably, female players have the strongest preference for playing a character of the same gender, 76%, whereas non-binary genders, while still most likely to prefer non-binary gender characters, those don't exist in games because it doesn't really matter, prefer non-binary gender characters only slightly more than the female characters, 38 versus 33. So it's basically the other thing they get into is that this statistic has held up for about 20 years now. They say here some of this is a little, they worded this terribly, by the way. For example, back in 2001, I found that among EverQuest players, men are about 4 to 6 times more likely to play a female character than female players are to play a male character. And in 2003, with a broader MMO sample, I found that it's older men who are most likely to play female characters in MMOs. In 2005, specifically with samples of WoW players, I estimated that 55% of female avatars in WoW are played by a male player. With the MMO surveys, it was never clear if these patterns were unique or idiosyncratic. I did it. I'm a college level nerd. To MMOs, the broader cross-genre data here shows that these patterns are likely consistent across many genres and have been remarkably stable for the past 2 decades. And what's funny is that they say it's funny is that it's the older guys that are like, yeah, I'll play a chick. When if you remember that thing I did where, defending Mass Effect, where the talk show host was like, what 13-year-old is gonna not play the woman when they could see her naked? Apparently, most of them actually they just prefer to play the dude because that's what they know. That's not what they're there for. Is every sexual fantasy that you can create. Excuse me. So, and it's not until guys get older and probably more comfortable, like, yeah, I'll just play a chick. I don't care. Clothing options are better, which is the end game of all MMOs. So, I thought that was an interesting survey, and a little bit of science, and kind of disproves some of the crap that morons constantly throw out there. All right. So, and before I get into the Blizzard stuff, which I'm not gonna, I'll spend some time on it because each one, with the president stepping down, the HR guy, Townsend, boycotts, what the boycotts do to the people. It's, there's stuff to go over. But something Eric has showed me just before I went live was kind of a bummer. Because the headline here from GameRant is man arrested for killing Halo Overwatch voice actress Christiane Luis. I'm assuming because she's from Brazil that it's probably that's pronounced like that. She's a voice actress who played Cortana in Halo, and she's Mercy in Overwatch, which everyone definitely knows that. I don't know, looking into it a little bit more like before the show, I don't know that she was like the English voice actress for Halo's Cortana, but she was definitely in the Brazilian adaptation, and apparently she did an amazing job too. But she's a Brazilian voice actress, known for Cortana in Halo, Mercy in Overwatch, and Helen Lovejoy in The Simpsons, which I think is funny. And apparently in the Brazilian version of The Simpsons, she actually plays Marge. So, that's kind of a big role, so she's definitely known down in Brazil. She also did Severe from League of Legends. I assume I got that right. I don't know shit about League of Legends. But what's tragic about this was that she was apparently brutally murdered. She was killed on the 6th of August, 2021, according to colleagues of hers. And the Brazilian actress was 49 years of age and was allegedly, always got to put allegedly, murdered in the city of Rio de Janeiro. I don't know why you have to put allegedly when the Pedro... you have to forgive me. Police arrested Pedro Paulo Goncalves Vasconcelos da Costa. I'm not making that up. That's literally what they have here is the guy's name. That's a mouthful. I'm going to call him Pedro, and he is not my friend. They arrested him in connection with Luis's murder, and he admitted to murdering her, so it's not really alleged, but what he does allege is that he acted in self-defense, while murdering her and stabbing her in the throat and the thigh, and then hiding her body in their house with the help of his mom for 2 days before stashing the body, and then it's another 3 or 4 before her body was found. And they also found all her stuff in his mom's house. But it was self-defense. You fucking twit. I don't know what Brazilian prisons are like, but I hope they're what you always hear of from other prison systems in the world. Not good. That's what I'm hoping for. Or that they have a death penalty. I am perfectly good with that as well. So, according to police, Luis was murdered in her own apartment with a broken chalice. The suspect allegedly cut the Brazilian actress's leg and cut her throat before hiding her body. The suspect allegedly murdered Luis several days before her body was found. The suspect had the help of his mother, Elaine Goncalves Vasconcelos da Costa. I'm not butchering their names on purpose. I don't speak Spanish or Brazilian, and I struggle with the long names. Several of Luis's possessions were found in the suspect mother's home, but she remains at large, so they have not caught Mama. And according to the police report, the suspect and his mother spent 2 days with the corpse of Christina Luis inside their house before hiding the body. The body was found 2 or 3 days later after the murder took place. In total, Luis had been dead for 8 days before the news was initially reported on her Instagram from her coworker, Mario Tupanaba Filio. Yeah, it's pretty... the case is ongoing, and of course, the one suspect, they have him, but he was allegedly defending himself when the attack took place. According to a source familiar with the two, he and Christine met at a psychiatric clinic in 2017. Since they had become friends, he's currently unclear how he got secured all of her possessions and inheritance. So, I mean, obviously the Halo, League of Legends, Overwatch community are going to be pretty upset about this. And they've already shown like an outpouring of love and support to the family. Hopefully, I don't know what I don't live in Brazil. I don't know what the conditions are like for her family and things like that. I assume she was probably pretty well off given the caliber of voice actress she was, and continued on, and hopefully her family will be well taken care of and find some sort of peace. I don't know how. Honestly, I'd be just enraged over something like that. But yeah, it's kind of a shame. Especially, she's definitely known for mercy for sure, and Cortana is kind of a big gig, you could say. Even though, if it's just the Brazilian one, it's still, I mean, Brazil does a lot of video games and things like that. It's pretty big down there. So yeah, just a damn shame. Which, makes it suck that I got to go into all the bullshit that Blizzard's doing. So, over the last 2 weeks, while I was sick, the world continued to turn, and Blizzard continued to fall deep into the crevasse of its own ass. Get it? Oh, come on, it was funny. It was just, shut up. So anyway, first of all, Blizzard president J. Allen Brack, you know him, he's the guy that looks like he would be the head of Blizzard and World of Warcraft. Is out and quit just before the earnings call he was going to have to do that day. To the surprise of absolutely no one. So yeah, he bailed the fuck out. I'm sure he will somehow survive with his millions of dollars and whatnot. But apparently, so he was the head. He took hold in 2018 of Blizzard, and before that, he led the development of World of Warcraft, and that was the team where a lot of this crap came from, because they were making the money. They were untouchable, according to a lot of the employees and female employees, and they've left former Vicarious Visions leader Jen O'Neill and former Xbox executive Mike Ybarra are now the co-leaders of development over there at Blizzard. I hope they're qualified, because they've got a lot of they got a lot of mopping ahead of them. I do not envy anybody that steps into a leadership position of Blizzard at this point, because that will not go over well. But so yeah, he bugged out right before the earnings call, probably so he wouldn't have to actually, own up to the problems that he probably helped instigate in a way, given he is the least bro culture, you call bro culture. I always assume, you look like a Chad, man, you're super buff, you're good looking, you got the chisel jaw, because that's what Chads do, and that's what bruhs do, bruh. Hey, you know what I'm saying? Bruh. Yeah. He knows what I'm talking about, right? Bruh. Yeah. Anyway, but that doesn't mean he's not a sleazeball, because neckbeards that's really more of what he looks like. And I don't like to judge people by their appearance, except for when I like to judge people by their appearance. I'm an opinion guy. I don't have to follow the rules. I'm not a fucking journalist. The guy looks like he had a windowless van, and it's not surprising that he might have helped perpetuate a culture like that. I don't really apologize. I'm not going to, could he be completely innocent? Sure, I guess. He may not have known anything about it, but at the same time, is that an excuse when the upper management of your company doesn't know what the fuck is going on to that extent? I'm going to go with no. Which leads us to the other one, which is Blizzard's head of HR is out. His name was would imply that he's dead. He's not dead. He's just gone. Jesse Mischuk. So he was the SVP of Global HR, and he's out because one thing everyone had been saying was, where the fuck was HR? And now we know. They knew about it. I'm not a court of law. I'm going to say if you bailed on it, it's because you were helping the company cover this shit up. And you knew full well about it, but instead of actually doing something about it, you were like, let's silence the people complaining. If there's one good way to get rid of fix a squeaky wheel, it's to get rid of it and put in a new wheel. Not, fix it, just get rid of it, which, from what I understand, seems to be a lot of what they did. They just got rid of troublesome people. In layoffs, they were laid off. They weren't fired. It was budget cuts. The economy, George Bush, Obama, Trump, Joe Biden. Those guys. Politics and budget reason. Whoop. Sir, it seems like, all the people we're firing, most of them have had a complaint about sexual harassment or misconduct within the office. Budget, George Bush, President Obama, Clinton, James K. Polk. It's this damn James K. Polk economy is causing us to have to let these people go. Was it Polk from, early 19th century or something like? Yeah, James K. Polk. Now I have to remember. I don't remember actually when. Let's see here. Let's see. James K. Polk. Middle school. Oh yeah, no, he was way back. He was all the way back in the 1845 to 1849. So this damn Polk economy. You know how it is with, the mid 19th century politicians. That James K. Polk. I don't know why I thought he was early 19th century. That's like Calvin Coolidge and things like that. And, what's that? Woodrow Wilson, who's a giant racist douchebag, by the way. Don't fall for that stuff. He's a terrible resegregated. Played the first movie in the White House, Birth of a Nation, which glorified the KKK. Remember, Woodrow Wilson, giant racist. Yeah, let's keep that plaque up on the wall there, Princeton. Anyway, actually, I think they've started taking it down. They've realized, oh crap, we can't keep deifying this guy because he's a giant piece of shit. So anyway, back to Blizzard being a giant piece of shit.
This can only end in tears.
Yeah. So Activision Blizzard said Mushek is no longer with the company. Yeah. So they got him out of there. Probably, let's see, the laws. We already know what the lawsuit is. Did it really say that? I must have missed that part. An HR rep reportedly told one employee to, quote, suck it up, and they were, quote, acting like a brat when they belittled this is the problem with HR. HR is not there to protect employees. HR is there to protect the company, for the most part. You might get a few of them that are really good at that. It's kind of like unions. Everyone here is now, they're like, unions, they'll protect. Unions are not there to protect the company, but they're there to protect themselves and get themselves more power and more money. That's what unions seem to do these days. I know. I was part of one. It's terrible. Yeah. At least our union is for the rural carriers. I can't say anything good about it. It's got some good people in it on the lower aspects, but the upper aspects, garbage. Nah, we've gone months without years without contracts, and the post office could just walk all over us that entire time. And why is that? Because they just don't try. They don't care. So I'm not really a fan of unions, but I'm also not a fan of HR departments, which is a weird place. What's the solution for that? Personally, I think you should be able to face your accusers in sudden death in a Thunderdome-like arena and let the gods sort it out through trial by combat. Frankly, that is the only way that corporate America is going to straighten itself out. I guarantee you people would be less bunch of assholes if there was the possibility that the person they're bullying could have a champion for them. Somebody like an MMA fighter come out and just beat the shit out of them. And then they and the gods have spoken. Susan from the billing department has won, and Bill from accounting is dead, and we will send a ham to his family. I think we'd have a lot less problems and things if everything ended in trial by combat. I'm just going to put that out there. I'm not saying it's a solution. I'm not saying I'm smart. I am saying, though, that I am a thinker, and that is what's going to happen. So that guy was out, and, well, by the way, I got to play this because, so that's not one, but two upper-level management out. But wait, there's more. Sort of, kind of. So the one person that really kind of came out looking like a shit brick on this was, what's her face? Here, where's her name at? Where'd her name go? Fran Townsend. She was the one that initially came out and said that the reports, the lawsuit was based off of old reports and blah, 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 and things that were no longer here. And so she stepped down as well. I mean, from the women's network, not actually her job. She's still the corporate affairs president, but she stepped down as an executive sponsor of ABK Women's Network 2 weeks ago. Okay. I mean, probably good, but at the same time, so what? I mean, so she says, quote, Townsend believes in doing what's right for the network and will continue to support and advance the work of the network as best she can. By not listening to the problems in your company? Yeah, and she said that according to a Zoom call that her statement said she was following, quote, legal counseling's guidance on language, and that the end result no longer sounded much like her voice. So she's blaming the fact that she said that exactly what she said based off of legal counsel twisting her words to the point that the company asked her to delete the tweet, and it was her decision. So, yeah, I don't, and people bash on her because she worked for the Bush administration. Honestly, don't care. Don't care about that at all. Maybe I should. I don't. Any more than, like I said, I care about Van Jones that's on MSNBC or CNN or some Sportsnet. I don't know where he's at now. That used to work for the Obama administration. He was one of the czars in Obama, and he's a card-carrying communist. Don't care about that. I mean, sure, but, I disagree with him, but politically, but good for him for landing a job. I don't remember what he does now. I think he's on a sports network. Doesn't really matter all that much, but she still knew what was going on, and it's not a great look. And in other news, following on this same subject, which is funny because you would think Coca-Cola would have been like, oh yeah, we believe all women, and the usual bullshit they're constantly spewing because they care about women. I mean, not little girls in foreign countries that are helping make their cans and processing all this stuff and all the Coca-Cola products in sweatshops and things like that. Not those women. Those women don't matter. They're not in first world countries. Those women don't make a difference. They're not in a big enough market, frankly, to matter. So Coke said it will, quote, revisit its league sponsorships in the Overwatch League after all this stuff is happening. And State Farm, I'm not a huge fan of State Farm because they're a shit company that I used to work for and my mom retired from and my dad worked for, and I loved them, but they treat their employees like garbage these days. They are not a great company to work for like they used to. They used to be very family-friendly and family-forward, and from the outside, they sure seem that way, but they are not the company they used to be. And yet I still use them, but that's because frankly, they give a really good discount. Another company wants to give a better discount, by all means, I will be happy to use you. I have no loyalty. Never have a loyalty to a company, by the way. Don't do that. Don't. Company loyalty should only be as good as their ability to keep the cost down and their ability to keep the product usable and friendly. That's pretty much as far as you should go with that. But State Farm, got to give it to them. They spoke with their wallet, and they pulled the completely out of their ads from the weekend competition. Now, does that mean they're going to pull them all? I don't know, but at least they made a gesture. Let's see here. What else? For the moment, both companies, along with Xfinity, IBM, Cheez-Its, Pringles, and TeamSpeak. TeamSpeak? Really? Is that the TeamSpeak I'm thinking of? The shitty program? Really? Is a sponsor for the Overwatch League? The bigger question is, TeamSpeak is still around with Discord out there? Who the fuck is using TeamSpeak?
Why?
Yeah, I know, right? Remain listed as corporate sponsors of the Overwatch League website, but as a State Farm rep told the Post that it is reevaluating our limited marketing relationship with Overwatch League, and the company has asked that its ads be pulled from the matches running this weekend. Again, that was this weekend. This weekend. So I don't know. And the spokesperson for Coke apparently didn't refer to any immediate actions, but confirmed the company is aware of the allegations and working with our partners at Blizzard as we take a step back for a moment and revisit future plans and programs. They're going to keep going, by the way. So yeah. At least, and that's really the only thing that's going to get through to these companies is, all these little protests and this bullshit that the employees are doing and people are doing in World of Warcraft and other things like that. Honestly, don't mean dick all. They really don't. It's completely ignorable. Yeah, that is right. I don't know why it sounded like I was saying ignoble, which is ignoble, even though it's got a G in it, contrary to what some of the narrators in my audiobooks say. So another one here is the opposite side of all these boycotts, and because some people are actually like the cancellations, from what we understand, because there's no hard numbers. Obviously, Blizzard's not going to release this. But if you go off of what people say, cancellations and people protesting, one thing I do know and can confirm was a lot of streamers that streamed World of Warcraft or Overwatch and things like that. Big streamers, like million viewer streamers, 100,000 viewer streamers, stopped with that stuff. And that right there is a huge impact on the rest of the people. Because a lot of, it's like the Final Fantasy XIV surge that's going on right now. Because even before this, people were going to from World of Warcraft to Final Fantasy XIV. People like that as Asmongold. And when somebody likes a streamer, especially when they've got millions of followers, and they see someone playing it, they typically will give it a try. I mean, I'm not saying this is why he did it, but it just, in point of reference, Renfail has actually tried Final Fantasy XIV. He's got a great review over at his YouTube channel for that. I think it's under Renfail. Just look him up. And of him trying it. He's tried it 2 times, I think he said before, and it never quite clicked. And this time because people like me have referenced it, and other guys he's done other podcasts and shows and stuff with have referenced it and said, it's really a lot of fun. And he went through it this time with the mindset of playing it more like a single-player thing than just an MMO, and enjoying the story and that fact that there's other people around, and yeah, that's all well and good. And just playing it like that, and he seems to be enjoying it now. And part of that is because, we're not influencers, but it was just buddies talking amongst buddies, which is how a lot of people end up getting games. I've tried some games. What was that? I didn't care for it just because it's a Souls-like Castlevania or Metroidvania. But Grime, I think, was one Scribbles mentioned, and I tried the demo. It was a good demo. It's a great game. It's just not a game for me, which is fine. But that's the kind of how these, you call them influencers. In a lot of ways, the people that call themselves influencers aren't really. But in video games, it actually does kind of influence. It makes people like, hey, I might give that a shot. That does look like a lot of fun. What's the one? Splitgate right now, which is like it's basically, from what I've heard, I'm going to try it out. I just haven't yet. It's like Halo meets Portal. So it's a little floaty, and you've got shields and stuff like Halo, but you also can shoot portals like in the game Portal, and on the map, and you end up behind people and things like that. And it's supposed to be crazy fun, and it's a good game. So, and a few streamers start playing that, and boom, it blows up real quick. That's how Among Us got to be what it was. So when these guys stop playing these Blizzard games, it has a snowball effect, and people, their favorite guy, and that's something that was making them excited to, like, hey, I did that same dungeon, and I hear him talk about it. Well, he's not playing that anymore. I'm not going to get to hear that, and it kind of, you float away from it. So on the other side of that, though, is this headline: Blizzard workers address the drawback of boycotts. Gamers lament WoW's deep decline. So there is a drawback to boycotting things. You're not just showing the company what for, and you're doing this for the employees of that company when you stop paying the company that pays those employees. That doesn't really work out well for the employees, because once the company stops making money, it has things that it has to do to keep making money, and one of those things is to get rid of people, which is gonna probably start happening. So to quote here, who I don't remember who said this, his name was Axios, has a piece up this week speaking to multiple Blizzard staffers who have said they don't necessarily want gamers to boycott the company. So I'm just going to quote the person here. It says, some Activision employees tell Axios that boycotts may do more harm than good. A current employee says that while they understand the reasoning behind it, losing money will catch the eye of executives and shareholders, forcing them to take action. It doesn't actually work that way. It's harmful to the people who work here, who pour their lives into the game and are determined to make AB Studios, Activision Blizzard, and all game studios, frankly, better places, they said. We can fix these problems if we can't fix these problems if we're unemployed, and we can't elevate women if we're boycotting all the work they've done and are doing. There's two sides to everything. It does all well and good to be angry and outraged and make your voice known, but at the same time, what's the best way to do that? I mean, like I said, one of the best ways to make a company understand you're upset with them is to do it with your wallet. But at the same time, are you hurting the company or the employees? Because the company, Blizzard Activision, is going to survive this. No matter what, they're not going anywhere. They've got billions of dollars. They can cinch up the belt, and they can survive this and come out on the other end. All the people that currently work there might not. So, well, I make fun of people that are like, we're gonna boycott and not boycott. We're gonna protest in the game and keep paying them money. Well, that's all well and good. And honestly, maybe that's the best way to do it. You let people know, but you also, it's a tough. That's one of those things I think would have to be a personal call for somebody. Are you angry enough with the company that you're willing, you have to just completely cut ties with them regardless, and then but knowing that is also probably going to cost the same people you're doing it for their jobs? Or are you just vocal against the company but do continue to still pay it, thereby also maybe helping perpetuate the problem if the company doesn't listen? It's a catch-22, man. Which is also weird saying, I don't know actually what that means. I guess catching a 22 bullet, probably not a great thing to do, by the way. Especially at speed. So, I got one. Oh, no, apparently it's from a 1961 novel called Catch-22. Huh. So it has nothing to do with bullets. It's probably good. I'm sorry, I had to look it up. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know the best way to go about it. I mean, I'm playing Call of Duty, which is Activision technically, and it is on the BattleNet, but I think that's just because it was easier for Activision. And I've spent money. I just did season 5. I'm not happy with Blizzard. I mean, shoot, I've been railing on it for half an hour now. So I don't know. Maybe that's my small part, and that's something that helps me sleep at night. But also, I don't know. It's just what works for me. Maybe it makes you a hypocrite. Maybe it doesn't. I'm sure some people would call you an absolute hypocrite, and others would be like, well, I mean, I really like the game. The ones, I guess, that would be the ones that really don't matter, the ones that are like, yeah, the bitches had it coming. Here's more money, Blizzard. I don't know that there's anyone actually out there like that. Incels, I guess, would probably be it. So anyway, all right, so moving on. Before we get one last story, before I get to the games that came out this month in history. This is what I based that beginning thing on. It was a Apex Legends lead game designer fired for remarks he made in 2004. His name is Daniel Z. Klein, and apparently he made some remarks in 2005 or 2007. He says here, "I'm very depressed because it feels like I'll never be able to make up for who I was." Oops, excuse me, burp right in the microphone. So he's a lead designer was, and left Respawn. Following blog post he published in 2007. Images from a deviant art blog were circulated on Twitter late last month and feature comments derogatory of women and African people, which is not good. You probably shouldn't do that. But at the same time, there's reasons these things happen. And I'm not defending what he said at the time, but I am going to say that this is something that a lot of people on the internet do, and that he fell victim to. And once it's on the internet, it's on there forever. So shortly after the images started circulating, Klein made a statement on July 28th denouncing the material. He said, quotes, "I was recently confronted with some awful statements I made on a blog I wrote back in 2007. I take full ownership for the things I said, and I'm embarrassed, sad, and angry at my younger self for saying this stuff. I hope it's obvious that I don't believe these things anymore." And he went on to say that he sent it to his HR support team and the video, and said, "Regarding the comments, I don't think anything from the 2007 this is their HR department reflects on the person of 2021. People grow up, and accusing of a possible sexual assault is over the line. You should never say stuff like that without evidence," which is true. And then Klein announced his departure. In a series of tweets, he says, "I want to be very open here and say that I'm heartbroken and depressed. It's been a dark few days. You may or may not have seen the awful bigoted things I said in 2007. I wholeheartedly agree that guy should have been fired. I have poured so much energy into becoming a better person since then, and right now I'm just very depressed because it feels I'll never be able to make up for who I was. I said racist and sexist things, not because I deeply believed any of them, but because I knew it would get a reaction out of people. That does not excuse anything I said. The impact of my words was the same regardless of what I believed. I'm mentioning this because with the help of a lot of people who loved me in spite of the shithead I sometimes was, able to make progress on a journey to become a better person. If my story can help one person out there in a similar position to see that there's a way to become better, it would be at least serve a purpose." And this is what I was getting at. So he said horrible things and racist things about women and people from Africa, blacks, back in 2007. Now, is that excusable at the time? No. Do people change? Yes. And more importantly, on the internet, do people say stuff they don't believe just because it gets a reaction out of other people? 90% of the time, I would say that is actually probably the way it is. The like playing in Call of Duty, some of the things I hear people say, and it's not just one race or the other. Like I hear the N-word more from the black players of their. How do you know they're black? Because I'm not stupid and I have ears. People have certain ways of talking. There's certain dialects. There's certain tones. You can tell when, it's like listening to somebody with a Chinese accent. You know that they're Chinese. You just know these things. Not always, and it's not always. You get some white guy that talks like he's from the hood. You may not know the difference. But you can usually tell, even vocally, that's just the intonations of and the ability to actually hear that stuff and not be a moron and pretend like things like that don't exist. But I hear the N-word more from the black community than I do from the white. Now, often I do hear it from the white ones, but it's usually in retaliation to being called that to begin with. I can say I have been called that plenty of times. And I usually respond with, well, that was racist. And that they never know quite what to say about it. Fred, go on. I'm not feeding you. It's not even close to time. She's over here whining. I don't know if you can hear her. So my thing for the internet is people say things to get reactions out of other people. That is the point of many arguments that happen on the internet. They don't even believe what they're saying. Like these people that will say just horrible stuff about blacks or Asians or women and things like that. I say I've made, how many jokes have I made about women? Like, get in the kitchen and make me a sandwich, or women gamers are a myth. They don't exist. They're all just dudes, playing women characters. Which is not true. It's only 33% of them, according to recent statistics I just read. Those things, because when I do it, it's a joke. I'm not trying to get a reaction. Well, that's not true. I say that because I am trying to get a reaction out of you. The reaction, however, is not anger and rage. It's laughter. But it is the same exact thing. It's just that the emotion I'm going for is different. I'm not trying to insult people. I'm just making parody. And trust me, I'm more than happy to make fun of any race, creed, religion, or gender, regardless if it's non-binary or not. Yes, quite so. By the way, you're not computer code. You can really only be one or the other. Ah! Unless you're a robot, in which case I guess all robots would be non-binary, wouldn't they? Or wouldn't, no, all robots would be binary. So yeah, anyway, I'm not getting my stuff. I'm tired. I'm getting tired. So anyway, he was violated for firing social media policy is what happened. So what happened? I mean, this was almost a decade ago that this guy said these stupid things. How long? I mean, just think of all the fucking stupid shit kids are saying right now in their teens. Not because they don't understand the world. They're teenagers. Think back when you were a teenager, you were a fucking moron. The stuff that you worried about. I remember I was working. I was like 17, and some dumbass friend of mine at the time, I don't even remember his name, came in and expected me to leave work. He's like, so-and-so's really depressed. We need to go talk to them. I'm like, dude, I'm at fucking work. I mean, I'm 16 years old. I don't have exactly work ethic at the time, but even I know that that's fucking stupid. I was like, well, you're not going to come help them? What if they do something? I said, well, then you'll be there, and you'll rescue the day for somebody that's depressed about being in high school. Raise the white flag. I'm surrendering. Oh, no. Depression in high school. It's no way anyone's going to get over that 99.999% of the time. It's just stupid. Teenagers are fucking stupid. They're ruled by their emotions and their hormones. They don't know what's going on. And I don't know if this guy was probably not like that, because honestly, stupidity leads well into the 20s. And honestly, I at this point in my life, I'm good with turning the voting age up to 35. I don't think anyone below 35 should be allowed to vote, frankly, which means I've only been voting for 7 years, and I'm perfectly okay with that. But yeah, so how long do these things have to go on? Should he have been fired? I honestly gotta say no. I don't think he should have. Especially if he showed honest remorse and the people around him, the people that he worked with, understood that stuff was non-existent. And this can't keep going on, because there's gonna reach a boiling point in the future where everybody's young adult and teenage lives are online and hidden deep within the code of the internet and can be searched and found when somebody they piss off somewhere, especially if they get to any level of power or importance. Like even a lead designer at Respawn Studios apparently is important enough for somebody to go back and look up shit that they've said 9 years ago. Nobody's going to be safe in the future. You're all going to have to constantly worry about stuff you may have said in the past without even remembering you said it. Like, did he even remember writing that stuff at the time? I've written stories for EverQuest 2 back when I role played. I could probably look up some of them, and I would have almost no memory of having written them. Even though they are entirely original creations on my part, I'd be like, oh yeah, I kind of remember that now, but no, it's like a stranger wrote it. Because it's been that long. And that's going to come, that's the way of the future. So it's a shame, don't say stupid stuff on the internet, I guess, is the lesson, because it could cost you your job 10 years down the line. Yeah. So anyway, before we leave out of here, we're going to do someone, I forget, I think it was William Huon, or somebody else's favorite part of the show every month, which is games that came out this month in history. So this will be games in August. I try to do this on the first of every month, but I was sick, so I didn't. And then the actual first episode of the month, I had 2 episodes to do. So I also didn't. Like, this one's already an hour and a half long. But you know what? I'm going to be here for you, regardless of the fact that I'm probably not going to be able to talk tomorrow, which my coworkers will thank you for. So this month in August, No Man's Sky is now 5 years old as of August 9th. Think of how far that game has come in 5 years. It was a dumpster fire. And I recently did try it again. I am just not a fan of gathering materials and building shit to gather more materials, better materials to build more shit, and exploration. I just couldn't get into it. Even it is a much better game, and if I had that kind of time on my hands, maybe, but I enjoy my MMOs, my TVs and movies, and currently and other games far too much to be able to give the kind of time No Man's Sky require. So, good on them. Another one that surprised me that's 5 years old, and I actually enjoyed, but I don't think I finished it. I finished the first one. Deus Ex Mankind Divided came out on the 23rd and same time, 2016. So it's 5 years old, and there is still no Deus Ex on the horizon. If I remember right, let's see. Deus Ex Mankind Divided. What was the score on that? Yeah, actually it did do good. 9.2 on IGN, 83% of a Metacritic score. Google users liked it by 93, so they kind of in there with IGN. So it was a good game. It really is a great game. It's a great kind of cyberpunk game. It's a lot of fun, made by Square Enix. And it did well. I don't know why they haven't made or even come out with a third one at this point in the Deus Ex, thing. But go figure, man. I don't know. It's a really good game. If you've never tried it, it's 5 years old now. It might feel a little dated, but I don't think so. I seem to recall it being really tight. Give it a shot. I bet you if you get it on PC, there's probably a lot of mods and updates that you could get for it that would make it modernized. Another one, which is near and dear to my heart because I'm still currently playing it, as is Renfail now. Final Fantasy XIV, A Realm Reborn was relaunched on the 27th of August, 2013. That game is now 8 years old since its relaunch, which if you count the first one, it's probably closer to 9 or almost 10 years old. Oh, actually, let's see here. Final Fantasy 14 release date. Original release date. Let's see if we can do that. Wow, no. Holy crap. Way off. It was September 30th, 2010 was the first game. So, wow, it took them that long to get Realm Reborn out. Is that right? Yeah. Oh, wait, no, that was... Nope, that was 14. Yeah, it took them 3 years to update that game. Wow. Okay, so, yeah, that game's been out for 11 years now. No wonder it looks the way it does. So, and then in August in 2013, they re-released it as A Realm Reborn. So, dang, man, that's doing really good. Although, still newer than World of Warcraft, technically. 2004. So, no wonder it's... God, MMOs are in such a sorry-ass state. It's pathetic. Also in 2013, Saints Row 4. Not a game or a series I've really been into, but a popular one. It came out on the 20th of 2013. So it's, 8 years old now. And another one, the previous Deus Ex Mankind Divided was 2016, and then Deus Ex Human Revolution was where I got into the series was the 23rd, 2011. That's a decade old now, and that one I really like that. Well, you know what? Now let's see. No, that was 5 years between the two. So 2011 for the first Human Revolution and 2016 for Mankind Divided. So technically we should be up for another Deus Ex by now, 5 years later. If we're going off the 5-year mark, we should have had one, but I don't think they're even working on one right now, which really sucks because it's a great series. And the Deus Ex that came before Human Revolution, they are definitely dated. They are a lot harder to play. I tried. I couldn't get into them. They're just too blocky, too squared. So, also in 2007, oh my God, talk about making me feel old, because this is one of my all-time favorite series I love all 3 games, actually, and I hope to God they're making more of them. BioShock came out on the 21st of 2007 in August. The original BioShock, which was revolutionary at the time, if you'd kindly remember that BioShock came out that long ago. It's just one of the greatest plot twists in video games. If you haven't played it by now, I'm sorry, I'm going to spoil the shit out of this. But the fact that you play the whole thing and you think you're working for Atlas and you're really working, I think it was Fontaine, if I'm remembering right, and you were drawn to Rapture, and he uses using the "would you kindly" every so often and throughout the game. I did notice it, but I just thought it was a speech thing. Little do you know, you find out at the end, you're programmed to do what someone tells you if they say, "would you kindly." You're pre-programmed to do that. And then of course, you break your programming and you beat the shit out of them at the end, and you get a good ending or bad ending depending on if you saved all the little sisters or not. I did save all the little sisters. I had a really hard time. I think I harvested one of them, and it was so awful. I was like, I went back to a previous save and fought the Big Daddy all over again. And then it's like, I got the one where they all got, you're there at the end dying and all their rings. And it's just such a great series. 2 was probably the weakest of all 3 of them. And I liked Infinite personally. I absolutely loved Elizabeth as a character, and I loved the endings of that and the way it happened. It was another complete out of left field spoiler. I'll be a little nicer on that one. But no, BioShock is up there with like Mass Effect and Legend of Zelda and Super Mario Brothers. It's just, I love that series so much. Final Fantasy. So going all the way in the Wayback Machine back to 1999, 22 years ago, System Shock 2. Another game I've never played, but I know is very popular. I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that have played it, and you're now very old for having played that game. You're incredibly old. But not as old as this one, which technically this is July 31st, but it came up for some reason in August, and since I don't think I went over this. I may have already hit it. But Double Dragon came out in 1987 on consoles and stuff like that. So 1987 Double Dragon. That game feels like it was I remember playing that one with the guy with the big head. It's just when those brawlers first started coming about, that was brand new. The graphics were amazing for the time. They just, because they just did left to right, left to right. And lastly, last one on my one for this month of August. Trust me, there's a lot of games that came out in August. I can't do all of them, even the popular ones throughout history, because I'd be here all day. So I just pick the first ones I find, and then hopefully, if a year from now I'm still doing this, I won't pick the same ones twice because I won't remember. Castlevania 2: Simon's Quest came out on the 27th, 1987. Yeah, I remember playing that. That was a big game back in the day. I wasn't very good at it. I was 8 years old at the time. I was 8 when that game came out. Years old in human years, not like dog years. So there's that. I got that going for me. I remember I was there when the original all that stuff came out. I'm an old gamer. Don't quote me the old magics. I was there when they were written. Yeah. So anyway, so that's the games I have this month that came out in August. And that's also, as you can tell by the music, the end of the show. Because an hour and 36 minutes of me rambling on with a voice that can barely carry on is probably more than enough. So, I am going to go get some spaghetti I made before the show. I am going to drink the rest of my energy drink in a bottle. And I'm going to go rest my voice and probably veg out either playing Call of Duty, which I may or may not stream, or watching TV with Sib and seeing if John Taffer can once again rescue that bar 9 or 7, 8 years ago. It's an older show. So, appreciate everybody for tuning in. Remember, twitch.tv/CrashWellLoading. Follow, subscribe, go over to the YouTube channel and follow over there. You can also watch it live there, and I'll also have, maybe one day I'll do other videos that aren't just streamed live on Twitch and streamed live, period. I don't know. I would like to, but also really lazy. So there is that to contend with. And while at twitch.tv/CrashWellLoading, go to the About section, follow, and if you're a listener like Ericus, Scribbles, and Renfail were, feel free to tell other people and demand that they listen to this show on threat of beheading. Yes, they will be beheaded for not listening. That is the way. Beheading. We're going back to the French Revolution. I will get the guillotine. We'll bring punch. There'll be cookies. It'll be fun. Right up until you start doing the children. Beheading children is not fun. Don't do that. Remember that. Next revolution, France. Don't behead the children. It's where you lost everybody. So anyway, I'm going to quit rambling. I'm so tired. Anyway, thank you for listening. I am Ashton Phoenix, and I will see you next week. I don't know why I sounded like an old man there at the end, but Pepperidge Farms remembers. Music, as always, is provided by Husky by the Geek. Visit him at youtube.com/HuskyByTheGeek to hear all the latest in video game rock covers and original music.